face-to-face to keep the negotiations going. Eamon, thank you. And as we get closer to the cliff's edge, a number of Republicans in Congress say they would be willing to accept tax increases on the wealthiest Americans if they are accompanied by large enough spending cuts.
Well, one of those is Representative Tom Cole, who is a Republican from Oklahoma, who joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Fantastic to have you here on the show,
Thank you
Congressman.
for joining us, sir.
Bill, Mandy, good to be with you.
What kind of spending cuts do you need to see, Congressman, for you to be able to vote for those tax hikes on the top 2%?
Well, for the record, I don't favor raising taxes on anybody. But I do recognize at the end of the month, if Congress doesn't act, they go up automatically. So the first thing I'd like to do, honestly, is take an area where we agree with the president. That is, we're not going to raise taxes on 98% of the American people. It's about 80% of the Bush tax cuts. And just get that out of the way. Let's not have those folks worried about that. But you're exactly right. The main issue here is spending cuts. Now, so far, the Speaker's put over $800 billion worth of spending cuts in entitlements alone, and frankly, altogether about a $2.2 trillion package, over two-thirds of which is spending cuts. And that's everything, and there's a lot of things you could do here. That's everything from gradually raising the age on Medicare, something that the President himself entertained at least in the summer of 2011. We should look at means testing, higher income earners on Medicare. I think long-term, and the Speaker's mentioned this, there could be an adjustment on the COLA on Social Security, again, for upper-income earners, something where they don't get a cut, but it's called progressive indexation. Perhaps it doesn't rise quite as fast as it would for low-income earners. So there's a lot of good ideas on the table, but the problem has been, while the Republicans have been willing to talk about revenue, so far the President has not been specific at all about spending cuts, let alone entitlement reforms.
You know, we've had a number of Democrats on the program, as you can imagine, sir, in addition to the Republicans. And, you know, each time we ask about means testing on Social Security or any, Medicare even, they're against that, saying that, that's an earned right in our country, and they don't want to give that up. They don't want to set a dangerous precedent that takes something away from people who have earned this right to this entitlement program.
Well, first of all, if we don't change the programs, they're going to go bankrupt, and I doubt any of them in favor of that. But I tell you what, there are a couple Democratic voices out there. Remember, number one, the President entertained this idea himself. And Eldridge Cleaver, my colleague in the House, has mentioned this for upper-income people as a possibility. Again, we're not talking about sacrifices from people that can't afford it, but we simply can't give Warren Buffett the same kind of Medicare benefit we might give somebody who, frankly, is living on Social Security and nothing else.
What about the estate tax? We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but, it's supposed to go to 55% with an exemption of just $1 million if we go over the cliff. Would you be willing to adjust that to some degree?
I would like to keep the estate tax where it is or eliminate it entirely. It's a killer tax for small businesses, farmers, and ranchers. That's really a non-starter. I think, frankly, a lot of my Democratic colleagues also oppose that. That's actually something where I think the two sides could work together and keep the current rates, if not lower them. But 55% on $1 million kind of literally shut down a lot of small businesses and farms and ranches, cost a lot of jobs.
I want to ask you, we've got a Fiscal Cliff deal meter here at CNBC, Congressman, and it's sitting at 50%, meaning 50-50 that we get a deal done. Where would you put it at?
I'm probably a little bit more optimistic than that. I'd probably be more in the 60-40 range. Look, the Speaker is an awfully good negotiator. He's negotiating in good faith. I think, honestly, from a position of strength on a lot of these things, I think the President takes his job seriously, too. Going over the fiscal cliff is not good for anyone. It bothers me sometimes when I hear people on both the left and the right entertain this as something that might be good politics. It may be good politics for somebody, but it's bad economics for the American economy and, more important, for people looking for a job and people trying to hold on to a job.
Last question. I want to go back to the premise that you and other Republican members of the House would be willing to allow that top-tier tax rate to go higher. Speaker Boehner's argument against that all this time is that it doesn't affect just those top-earning Americans, but it also affects the small business owners in this country, the job creators in this country.
The Speaker's right about that.
Is that not valid anymore, or why would you be willing to give it up if that's the case?
Well, remember, I'm not willing to. I don't want to raise those tax rates.
I understand, but you're willing to at least talk about it right now.
Well, look, they go up automatically. I can tell you the sun's going to come up in the east tomorrow morning and set in the west. Doesn't mean I had a darn thing to do with it coming up or coming down. Those rates are going to go up. We either act now to keep them from going up from as many people as possible, or they'll go up on everyone. That's a disaster. So let's recognize reality, take care of as many people as we possibly can, try to do what the Speaker said, which is let's try not to raise rates at all and find revenue in other ways. But at the end of the day, we don't do something, those rates go up. Too many people think if we just hang tough, that my taxes won't go up. That's not the case. We have to have the cooperation of a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate.
We have to leave it there, but Congressman, thank you very much for your thoughts today.
Thanks.
Well, be sure to watch our special network-wide